Good morning, sports fans from all around the world. From Cape Cod to Cancun, from Vegas to the Vatican, I am your host, Jeff Dawson of the Breakfast Bankroll at East Coast Sports Investors. My co-host, Scotty from Tampa, will join us in a second. What a weekend we had here with our VIP and family team. Congrats to Colin Morikawa, plus 3,600. Winning the Open and now two majors at the age of 24. The guy is simply a beast. Put the heat on him, and he plays even better. Our start here in July couldn't be better. It's 17-7 in the month of July in the MLB. So if we're just 5.5 weeks away from football, the NBA playoffs, we are holding a plus 650 future on the Bucks. So if you're interested, have any questions about our delivery and text service, we call it the VIP ECSI experience, send me a quick DM on Twitter at EC Sports Invest, or send us an email at eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. And we'll answer any questions. We got plenty of seats available for the football season, MLB playoffs, and the World Series coming this way. And then before you know it, the restart of the NBA, NHL, some college hoops, and of course college football, the NFL, playoffs, Super Bowl, you name it, we got it, we deliver it. So without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you today?
It's Monday. My feet hit the ground, so I said, get your butt up and let's get cracking. How are you, my friend?
I am doing outstanding, man. It's another new week, right? Monday start the new week, and saw some stuff from MGM out there about betting futures on the Super Bowl today. So started feeling pretty good about football coming up.
All the magazines. I went to our local Barnes and Noble a couple weeks ago. Was looking for a couple magazines, and then you follow social media, and they're a dime a dozen. And I'm a stat guy. I'm an old school guy, where when we used to go into our real office, there'd be a stack of magazines and newspapers this high, and it was always good reading material, and in today's digital world, for me, it's just not the same, where a lot of guys are not now printing the magazine, but you get it digital. And for me, I'm not a digital guy. I have a hard time. I need something to hold on to. How about yourself?
Yeah, I have a hard time with the digital stuff, only in the sense that I have learned over the course of time that you need to read to find the information that you're looking for. So I found a way to do all that kind of stuff, but then you start looking at the articles that you want to read, and then they're behind a paywall from the newspapers, so you have to pay these. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, I get it. I mean, the newspapers are pretty much dead these days, and for writers and for people in that business to survive, they need income. So I understand all that, but I'm not your local, guy that lives in Minnesota, but I want to read about something you wrote about the Vikings. So I got to find a different way, a different approach to go through that, because it's a little bit frustrating on one side, but I mean, I get it on the other side. Everything's a business these days and trying to stay afloat. But so yes, all of the above. I miss the ideas of being able to get the information from where you need it, and having the information as a resource, right? I mean, I used to, I still have all my spreadsheets and all this stuff. I used to print out every single one from every single game, and then I would paper clip them together and file them by month. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't go back and look at this crap. So I'm like, I analyze certain things certain ways, so that I get an understanding of what I'm betting and what my wins and losses are per bet type, or even stuff like that. So I don't look at it by, okay, I bet on the St. Louis Cardinals 5 times this year and I lost all of them, or whatever. I don't look at that. I don't look at it that way. I look at it, okay, I bet the underdog in the first 5, and I bet it 6 times, and it won 4 times and lost twice. Okay, well, that's pretty good percentage. I need to keep doing that. If I bet, a run line on a favorite and I lose all the time, then I got to eliminate that bet. So I look at it that way in terms of how I analyze my stuff that I do. But having that resource, and I'm just looking at my bookcase right now. I got magazines and articles and stuff back from, I don't know, 1970 something, 1980 something. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that, I'm old. So, it is what it is.
I listen. I'm the same. It was Christmas Day way back in the fantasy football world when you knew certain dates, when certain magazines was coming. I remember my claim to fame. I was holding up my first big cash in a national fantasy football league. I was holding up a $10,000 big check like this, and I was like first guy in line to open up that door at Barnes and Nobles. I'm like, let me in. That magazine's coming, But in today's world, it's entirely different. And again, we have to change. We have to adapt to today's society. The one thing that I will say because of this is maybe, hopefully the price of ink is going down for our copiers, and we're using less paper and saving some more trees. So on the bottom of the page, favorites 8-8, overs 10-6, some big dogs that cash: Indians plus 155, Rockies plus 140, Orioles plus 130. Pirates almost added to that list, but the Mets came back and said, well, if you can beat us with a 6-run lead, we'll come back and beat you with a 6-run lead. That first inning was just absolutely insanity. I like to take a look at the first weekend back, and, not that the season's over, but, Yankees end up taking 2 out of 3. They were gifted on Saturday. Sox bats have been kind of stagnant since the start. We've beaten up the Twins enough. I mean, just anything that you could sell on that team, I'd be selling. Couple other teams again, not sure where they're heading. Thoughts now that the weekend is complete?
Yeah, we talked on the show yesterday a little bit about some things, and it's I think it's dangerous to rule out some of these teams. I talked a little bit about Toronto yesterday, and looking at today's number, they're getting a lot of respect, man. I mean, I way too much for my blood. But that all being said, right? So Toronto right now is the number 2 offense in baseball. And they got a lot of young kids, and they got a lot of firepower, but they don't really have the pitchers that will get them there. The trick is whether or not they're going to go get one. So my thoughts right now is that so say the Red Sox or the Rays, one of those 2 teams are going to win the East, and then that leaves the other one as the wild card, and they're probably far enough ahead at this point that you might think that they're in pretty good shape. But the other wild card will be between 3 teams probably, and that's going to likely be the Toronto Blue Jays, the New York Yankees, and the Oakland A's. Mm-hmm. And if I'm kind of looking at this, I don't think the A's have the firepower to go out and trade for somebody or get somebody big enough that's going to be an impact to just make the wild card, and then their pitching staff's not good enough to win that one game that they got to win if they were to make the wild card. So I don't really like the A's, but the Blue Jays are different because the Blue Jays have offense, and in today's game, where it's all pitching dominated, if you have an edge in somewhere and it's in offense, you have a way to win. And in my mind, if you were to just get somebody, and they got to be a top line guy, but you get somebody. I mean, Barrios is for sale. That Scherzer is going to be available. So these are 2 top line guys that if you put on the Toronto Blue Jays, what is that team going to be like? and how many runs are they going to score, and then how many less are they going to give up, and then making a big run down the end. And if they get the right guy in a one-game playoff, say they don't win the East, but they make it as a wild card, if you get the right guy, they're going to win that game, and then you don't want to play them in a series. I mean, so I'm kind of liking what the Blue Jays are offering right now. I don't like them today, but I do like the Blue Jays in a lot of ways.
I think you can start cherry picking. I think the smarter GMs, Washington's one of those teams again. Not too long ago, they were the darlings where they were. So Washington and their GM is not one to throw in the towel. Now, the Cubs, on the other hand, have kind of made it clear that they are sellers. They already moved Peterson to Atlanta. I mean, obviously, Kimbrel's the big piece. They talk about Bryant, and they're even, talking about Rizzo, which, again, I can't see them getting rid of both Bryant and Rizzo. But a team like Colorado with a Marquez, maybe a John Gray, they do have some names over there that, I think you could cherry pick. And if I'm a GM, I think I want to get in and stoke those irons and fires earlier, beat the rush instead of having a 4 or 5 team, bidding war for Max Scherzer or one of the higher profile names.
Yeah, I think that we've seen in the past, the last, say, 72 hours of the trade deadline time frame, there's a lot of stuff that happens, and a lot of it's forced by pressure and, oh my God, this team did this, so I got to keep up with the Joneses. But the reality is that there's been some forefronting of some of these teams where they go out and they get a pitcher or two, or they get a hitter or somebody that they didn't have to pay an arm and a leg for, but it was a good quality sign, and maybe even somebody they can re-sign. But the idea being is that they were able to front the market and then sort of create a fervor at the end of the market to try to have everybody keep up with them. A team that could do something like that might be like the Giants. The Giants are there. They're going to be there, but can they really get in at the end? So how do they figure out, how do we compete after we've had such a great season? How do we make that work? Are you going to rely on Kevin Gausman to be the guy? I mean, I don't know. So somebody like that could forefront the whole thing. And what if they've got Scherzer? I mean, Scherzer puts people in a position where they can win that one game playoff game. And then when you're in, that's all you got to be. And then you got to try to get to the point where you can win a series against some of these other teams. But the point, I guess, is very obvious that there's a lot of different ways to go about it. There's picking and choosing the right talent and what's available and what's not. Everybody's in love with Joey Gallo, and they want to trade their whole team to get Joey Gallo. And the truth is he's a guy that bats 230. He strikes out over 200 times, and he hits 40 home runs. So he's a Yankee, right? So the Yankees don't need a guy like that. They got 16 of them. So so if you're a team that is maybe like, I don't know, say you're like the Cardinals. The Cardinals don't hit a lot of home runs. The Cardinals don't score a lot of runs. Maybe you need a guy that can go out there and drive 40 home runs, and you don't care about his strikeouts because all he's there for is to hit the home run. I don't know. You just got to find the fits, like some of these teams don't match up to the player, but the fan base is like going crazy because, oh, we got to have Joey Gallo, the short porch in the Yankee Stadium. Okay, well, where in the heck's he going to play? Judge plays right field. And so where's Joey Gallo? He's going to be your center fielder? I don't think so. And then you're going to get a guy in there that strikes out 200 times. That's more than what they already have. I mean, Judge and Stanton strike out a lot, but they don't strike out 200 times a season. So it's mix and match and fit the right way. And that's why I'm glad that Twitter doesn't dominate who actually runs the teams.
I agree. Today's menu, Monday, kind of interesting menu. We're going to go to Don Best today. We're going to change it up for the viewers and the listeners here. I had 4 games that kind of piqued our interest, that checked the box. Let's see if we can move this in for the viewers. Let's get in here. All right. Four games that kind of piqued my interest from last night to this morning when we got up to where we are today. Some of the numbers that were a little surprising. Chicago, St. Louis, you've talked about St. Louis. They're not scoring a lot of runs, but opened up small favorite. We've seen a flip in a few of the markets now with the Cubs at Mills, now the favorite there. Some overnight steam, which we assumed would happen. Dodgers opened up only 104. Now steamed to around 130, 131 against the Giants. Gonsolin versus Gosman. Here's the one. Detroit off of a nice sweep against the Twins. And in comes Texas. Gibson versus Mize. And believe it or not, seeing some Texas love and Texas favored there. And the one that kind of really surprises me here is Angels at Oakland. Now, we haven't been big Irvin backers, okay? And I know the Shohei Ohtani is a lightning rod. But with that being said, Angels as the favorite at Oakland. So those are the four that check the box. If you could maybe talk a little about any of those that you could follow up with, that you might see what we're seeing or maybe entirely different.
Well, my favorite play on today's board is the Chicago Cubs today. Okay. And I like the idea that you're getting Alec Mills. And let's get my computer set up here, right? I have looked at the numbers to a certain degree here. There we go. And one of the things that I do, and we've talked about this before, and the reason why I do it, but I only look at the last 30 days from starting pitchers. And then there's a lot of reasons for that. But in the last 30 days, Alec Mills is a pitcher that hits the top 30 pitchers in all of baseball, not just in just for the National League. He actually is 29th in every bit of it. So now you got a guy who theoretically is pitching similar to what an ace pitch is like. And he's going against a guy that is Woodruff, who hasn't started a game all season. He's an opener, and he goes 2 innings usually. And not only does he go 2 innings, but they're 2 innings of bad baseball pitching. I mean, his Sierra numbers 5.32. His strikeout rate's only 7%. It's the lowest on the board today. That means he gets hit. I mean, if you're not striking guys out, balls are in play. And the pitching matchup totally favors the Chicago White Sox. I'm sorry, Chicago Cubs. And the value you're getting with Mills, I think he's minus 105 to minus 110, something like that right now.
Yeah, I see him right around 108, 109 on the Vegas Strip. There's a 110 at Caesars right now.
I love that. And then the other side of that is the St. Louis Cardinals bullpen currently is they are 1, 2, 3, 4. They are 27th in baseball for the last 14 days. So even if they get out of sort of the first 2, 3, 4 innings, okay, now you're going to rely on a bullpen that is 27th best in baseball over the last 7 days to hold down the Cubs. And I'm not saying the Cubs are world beaters. That's not what we're saying. The matchup favors the Cubs in a lot of ways, and I really liked that matchup today. And it was really hard for me to find some other things. One of the things that we talked about, you talked about, was Texas today, and the Texas and the Detroit Tigers. And I made a note, and I'm like, okay, Gibson looks pretty good today. So I started looking at it, and then I'm like, well, you know what? I don't like to bet on these teams that don't score. And then I looked at it, and we just said how bad certain teams are in the bullpen. Well, the Texas Rangers are now 29th out of 30 teams on offense. So I don't really want to bet on them. And the Texas Rangers just played Detroit in their last series before the one they just came off of, and they lost 2 out of 3. and then they got the Detroit Tigers have swept the Twins, and then they beat they beat the Rangers 2 out of 3 times. So this is a team that basically has won 5 of their last 6 games. They got some momentum going for them. They've been getting some pitching. So yes, I do like the matchup of Gibson over Mize today, but I don't like the offense that Texas is going to go in, and they're on the road. So to me, that just kind of that knocks them out, even though it's sort of a pick'em type game. If the thing switches, right, the line, and we get to a point where everybody goes, oh, Casey Mize, let's go bet on him, and then they decide to make them the favorite, then I'll certainly jump on Texas as a dog. I don't want to bet on Texas as a favorite in this game just because I don't think that they really should be. If they should be a small dog, then I think there's a little bit of value there.
But let me interject there. But that's why I brought that game up specifically. Okay, you got a Detroit team at 43-51 versus a Texas team that's 35-58. Mize is a good young up and coming pitcher who's been pitching okay. Okay, they just swept Minnesota here, yet Texas opened up as the favorite. So in our eyes. Vegas is begging for Tiger money. Everything that you said is correct. Tigers, better offense, better bullpen. Just took 2 out of 3 against them prior to the break. How come they opened up as a home dog?
Right. I mean, that's the key, right? Is to kind of look at that and go, hey, boy, this is tight. But I look at it too that it's just. If it's going to be sort of a pick'em kind of game, I get that. I think I've been a little bit high on Casey Mize, but his last 7 starts has been just really average, and Gibson has just been like an ace all season. So he's going to pitch better and likely stay in the game longer. The question becomes is are they going to score? And if they can't score, then that sort of mitigates your advantage on the mound. So I look at it like it's pretty even as a line. But if it really were to switch to where the Detroit was to get to be say Detroit got to be minus 125, okay, well that's too much. So I like Texas in that spot, and I agree with you 100%. I think that that's what the bookmaker wants. So let's let it happen, right? Let the public go out there and bet that game. Let them bet Mize. Let them bet the Tigers. Let it get up to minus 125 or whatever it is, and then come in backside right before first pitch and take Texas. And I think that's how you play this game too. Is if you know what you're looking at and where the value is, let the value happen, especially for dogs. Because the public never fails. They let you have the one you want most often. I get up and do some of this stuff at 4:00 in the morning sometimes. So I don't know which way the money's going to go, but I can assume. And typically, if I'm wanting to play a dog, I know all I have to do is sit here and watch the board because the people are going to come in and bet the favorite. That's what they do. They bet favorites and overs all the time. And I get it. It's fun to watch a team score runs, and in theory, you can never figure out how a team's going to beat another team. How the Pirates going to beat the Mets? Well, they do, and stuff like that. It happens just because they're baseball games. And what was the other two you said? Those two was Chicago Cubs and Texas, and you said 2 other ones.
The other 2, there was some big overnight steam, which always happens. Dodgers coming back home to face San Fran for first place, obviously. Gosselin versus Gosman opened at 104 apiece, and now Dodgers are minus 131 there. And the other one, again, another shocker, not a shocker, but a surprise for us. Again, Irvin has not been good in our eyes. But to see the Angels come in favored at Oakland. Those were the other 2 that we checked off. For what we like to say is the overnight action and the morning movers and shakers.
Well, that Dodger game is an interesting game to me because I don't think people really realize who Tony Gonsolin is. In 2020, he was the Dodgers' best pitcher for the season. Buehler didn't pitch well, and then Kershaw was hurt a little bit. And he's the guy that was the guy that had the most WAR, the best pitching. But when he got to the playoff time and stuff, his stuff just doesn't hold up. It doesn't play well. And he hasn't pitched much all season for the Dodgers this year. So he has been a long relief guy, didn't make the rotation. They got 17 Cy Young winners on that staff. So, those are the guys that pitch. So now Tony Gonsolin's getting his shot again. And the truth of the matter is his Sierra numbers are 3.73 going into this game. So is he really good? Yep, he's really good. His strikeout rate's 27.7%. Okay, well, Gosman's is 30. That's pretty damn close. I mean, it's close enough where they're the same kind of pitcher, but Gosman has 11% walks and Gosman, 11% walks. Gonsolin has a 6% walk rate. So he limits the guys that get on base. You know what their batting average against is? Gosman, 163, and Gonsolin, 164. People don't hit either one of these two guys. So I like the idea that you're going to get a good pitcher with Gonsolin going today. And I also kind of like the idea that the LA Dodgers are number 4 in baseball in terms of offense currently. So I can understand the move in terms of the money coming in on the Dodgers. Plus, it's not very often you get to bet the Dodgers at those prices. That's like I'm putting them on sale or whatever. So I kind of like that idea. Gosman has pitched twice against the Dodgers this year. The last time out, he threw a game score of 41, which is really bad. But the time before that, he threw a game score of 77. So, he's pretty balanced in that regard. And Gonsolin, he hasn't faced the Giants yet this season. And that's just because he didn't get started right away. So when it comes to the pitching matchup, I think it's pretty even. One of the things I've been trying to talk about a little bit is WPA, which is win percent added. And that's when a pitcher is getting the outs required in kind of clutch situations and makes them harder to beat, adding winning value to their team. And over the last month, Gosman has added 0.23 and Gonsolin has added 0.60. So he's just been better in those spots. Not that he's a better pitcher. He's just been better in the spots that matter. And you can see some of this stuff sort of weigh itself out. And with Ohtani and with Irvin, it's a very similar thing. Ohtani's Sierra numbers 4.47 and Irvin's 4.0. One of the things I looked at when I was trying to figure out what's the deal with Irvin, and we can look at outs per pitch type, and he has 4 pitches, and all 4 of them are positive on the outs per pitch. You don't really see that very often. You see guys that throw different pitches where they rely on one to get outs. He can get outs on all 4 of his pitches. Ohtani's a great story. He's a great athlete, but his value to the Angels is in holding a bat in his hand. It's not that he's a bad pitcher, but his pitching isn't really what you might think it is. Now, I will say this. Irvin has pitched against the Angels twice and got bombed twice. I mean, he's been shelled twice. And currently the Angels are number 5 in baseball in offense. So I would not be betting on Oakland if I was going to go one way or the other, even with the prowess that Irvin has on his pitches. I would take the Angels in a sense that the offense just matches up here, and Irvin's very hittable. He's not a strikeout guy, Irvin. He doesn't walk guys, but he's very reliant on his defense to make the outs for him.
All right, my brother, it's time. What everyone's waiting for right now, we will give them what they want, and that is... The stage is yours, brother.
Well, I talked about Chicago already and the White Sox or the Cubs, and I jumped on that game with Mills. I like it a lot. You're talking about again a good starting pitcher, one that's pitching pretty well, and against Woodford, who's a 1 to 2 inning opener, who's never started a game before, and now he's going to start against an arch rival in the Cubs. And not only that, but he's not very good. And I don't mean that disrespectful. I just mean that he doesn't strike anybody out. And his batting average against is 385. He puts 2 guys on base per inning. So there's a likelihood that the Cubs are going to be ahead right away. And then you got Kimbrel in the back end, and you got St. Louis at 27th or whatever it was in their bullpen rank. So I like that matchup. The other one, and this one, Jeff, you can kind of try to shun me away from, but I have to take the Boston Red Sox today. I mean, I don't have a choice. And then when I looked at this, the best way I thought about betting it is to take the first 5 innings plus a half a run. It's going to cost you 125, but I think the value is there. So what does that mean? The value is there. Well, the Boston Red Sox are leading the division right now, and the Blue Jays are the up and coming chasers, and they're at home, and the Blue Jays have Stripling on the mound. Now, Stripling's not a guy that goes out and throws 100 miles an hour and people go out there and they can't hit him. They're going to hit Stripling. They're going to hit Pivetta. But at the same time that they're going to hit him, the question becomes is how hard and what kind of, how are they going to hit him, right? So looking at the numbers and kind of balancing this out, Pivetta is a 3.65 Sierra number and a 404 xFIP. Okay, so what does that mean? That just means that he's average to below or average to good on how he's throwing. He's controlling the mound with the ability to strike people out. He's 30% strikeout rate, so that's really good. And his batting average against is 188. Now, keep in mind that's over the last month, and over his last month hasn't been his best time. His best time was at the beginning. So he's showing signs that he can still pitch. And the other part of it is Stripling. Stripling gets hit, and he gets hit a lot. So his batting average against is 284, and his home runs against is 2.66 per 9 innings. So not only does he get hit, but he gives up the long ball. And yes, I know Toronto hits the home runs, but so do the Red Sox. Okay, and the Red Sox haven't been hitting. They came out and they got hit. You're going to go through this. The Houston Astros are number 30 in baseball on offense right now. So teams are not going to hit. But at the same time, they're not going to hit. They're going to find guys that they like to hit against. And I'm telling you, Stripling is a guy that was a 48 game score and a 13 so far against Boston this season. They don't mind seeing him. They've seen him a lot. He's not a big strikeout guy. And the value – to me, this game should have been, if anything, Pivetta is a much better pitcher. So one of the things I look at is projected numbers. And if you look at projected numbers for how they're going to end the season with their WAR number, right? So Pivetta is a 2.2. So 2.2 means that he's about a bit above average pitcher. And if you look at what Stripling's number is, it's 0.9. That means that Pivetta is a much better pitcher than what Stripling is. And you got two offenses that are similar, even though Toronto's is pretty good right now. I don't think that the value to have this game be that far out of whack in my mind is crazy. I think it should be a pick 'em at worst. And you're getting tons of value in this spot. So I'm just going to stay away from the bullpens and the later on in the game. I mean, they're supposed to score, I think 10.5 is the number. So they're going to score like 11 runs in this game. So who knows what's going to happen when it gets out of the control of the pitchers. But I'm going to bet on Pivetta and not Stripling.
A couple of things with the Red Sox. Second half, the feet really hit the road here with the scheduling between Boston and the Yankees, Boston and the Rays. Toronto's got less than 2 weeks, and they'll be coming back home finally. Um, they've been blessed for most of the year with health. The Red Sox. Yesterday was the first maybe chink in the armor with Arroyo and a potential hammy there. We'll keep an eye on that. Um, I agree with everything you're saying with this matchup. I'm just wondering deep down if this might be the start of the Sox have had a blessed first half of the year. They haven't had the swoons. They've managed the ship, and I think a lot has to do with Cora and the fact that he's able to keep them up, and then when they're down, pick them up, and when they're too high, kind of knock them down a peg, and keep them at that level playing field. So I agree with everything you're saying here. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, the Jays are just smashing the ball. You need to get out early on them and hope that your starter can get you 5, 6, 6.5, because it's going to be a long series if all of a sudden you're taking the starter out in the second and third inning of the first and second game. So that will do it here today. Some interesting stuff, a lot of topics here. Any questions for any one of us? Follow Scott. Scott, give everyone your Twitter and any of your social media stuff.
Yeah, you can follow me at Webby20MLB on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, basically the same handles. I've got my own website, but I haven't really done a whole lot with that for a little while. But it's MLBdaily.com. But don't get fooled. I mean, I go under the handle of being baseball because I used to play baseball, and I kind of get into the sabermetrics numbers, but I can do football too, and I'm getting ready for some big football coming around the corner. So just because my handle says MLB, don't get fooled. We'll be talking some NFL and college football and getting into some big time numbers there too.
And for myself, anyone listening, watching, if you could do us a big favor, jump over to YouTube, Jeff Dawson, Breakfast Bankroll. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications. And the real home run today would be to run over to Twitch at Jeff D66. Myself and Scotty working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes there, really hoping come this fall we'll be doing a lot of live streaming, a lot of in-game talks, especially in football, NFL, and college, where you might be on the wrong side of a number, but have an opportunity at halftime or in-game to get on the right side and even to hedge and not even sweat the game. That's the best thing, is having both sides, and you can't lose and profit a little. So that's what we're trying to do here. That's our long-term goal and success. But thank everyone here watching, listening. We will be back tomorrow around the same time. Have a great day. Always, always bet with your head, not your heart. If you have a problem, reach out, pick up the phone, and help is available. So have a blessed day. Enjoy yourselves. Hope you cash a lot of tickets, and see you bright and early tomorrow morning at the Breakfast Bankroll.